With the A-League men's regular season wrapped up, of course, the transfer rumours are starting to roll in. So in today's video, we are going to run through some of the latest transfer talk from social media and some of the confirmed transfers that we've already heard about from clubs across the A-League. And one of the clubs that we will start with is Sydney FC. They've already announced a number of departures. Patrick Wood will be returning after his loan spell at Perth Glory for the second half of the season, but Klamala is leaving after his loan. Of course, as we know, Andrew Redmayne departing the club. Zatirio had a short stint at the club. Kaczarski and Burgess also leaving. This is one of the big ones, a key player at Sydney FC for the last few years now, Anthony Caceres, and of course now a Socceroo, rumoured linked with a move away from Sydney FC. And quick shout out as well to Osfort HQ on X for collating and sharing all this information. So this summary here indicating that Macarthur and Auckland are interested in signing Caceres. That news coming from Vince Regari. Of course, Auckland FC, you've got that Steve Corica connection, so it's no surprise that Corica would be interested in one of his former players in Anthony Caceres. Caceres' contract does expire at the end of this June. Also says here, Caceres rejected an initial contract extension offer from Sydney FC. That's coming from Marco Monteverde, and they keep a hold of Anthony Caceres, one of their top players. We'll wait and see. Another huge scoop, this one coming from Football Fever AU. Sydney FC are reportedly open to offloading Joe Lolley. Says here that Sydney are reassessing Lolley. Sydney's turbulent season has led to a quiet push to move Lolley. This is a real surprising one for me. I mean, Joe Lolley was, again, one of Sydney's best players last season. The season before, he was fantastic as well. He's been very, very good since he arrived in the A-League. Has been one of the top wingers in the competition, has scored some incredible goals, providing assists. It's certainly a surprising one, but this will not be the last time we speak about Joe Lolley in this video. Adrian Segacic, obviously a phenomenal season for him, just 20 years of age. He is reportedly close to joining Rapid Vienna. This news coming from Football Fever AU. It's a well-deserved move if it does come through for Adrian Segacic. He has been phenomenal, and this is no surprise that he's receiving interest from Europe and I'm sure a future Socceroo. This could be a decent signing for Sydney FC though. Paul Ocon Jr., just 20 years of age, he's currently over at Benfica, is reportedly in discussions to join Sydney FC, again coming from Football Fever AU. Could either be a loan or even a permanent transfer for Paul Ocon Jr. I think this is a great move from Sydney FC. Again, going for a younger option there. They've got plenty of experienced players in that lineup, but a younger option to complement, as they say here at the end, partner Leo Senna in the heart of Sydney FC's midfield. And it reminds me a little bit of Ryan Teague coming back to join Melbourne Victory. A sort of a young Aussie defensive midfielder coming back to the A-League, getting some game time. In the A-League, he could really flourish. And Sydney FC, it's a big club to go to. Hopefully they would give him game time if the move does come off. So there is more news regarding the Joe Lolley situation, and Sydney FC are reportedly interested in signing Adam Taggart of Perth Glory. Socceroos striker, won the Golden Boot last season. This is a big one. So this is coming from Marco Monteverde. This is basically a recap of everything that we know so far. So apparently Sydney's determination to sign Socceroos striker Adam Taggart had them ready to let star winger Joe Lolley go to Perth Glory. So apparently they're willing to let Lolley go to bring in Adam Taggart. Obviously, we know as we saw, Patrick Klamala has left the club, so Sydney FC will be looking for a new starting striker. Adam Taggart could certainly play that role. So it's a big piece of news. We'll certainly keep an eye on this one. Next up, let's chat about Perth Glory. They've already announced a number of departures and a couple of re-signings, and Nasmo has departed the club. As we know, that was announced a couple of months ago, but Pearman has departed, one of their breakout stars this season. Hamzawi, Lockie Barr, Patrick Wood has departed, as well as Riley Warland, and a couple good re-signings for Perth Glory. Youngster Trent Osler has re-signed, as well as Lockie Wales. As we just spoke about, of course, Perth Glory interested in Joe Lolley, potentially involved in a swap deal with Adam Taggart. And another quote here coming from Stan Lazaridis speaking to Ben Smith regarding Joe Lolley. Stan Lazaridis apparently said, "Would I love to bring Joe Lolley to Perth Glory? You bet I would. He is my style of player. He's exactly what we need, the way we play here. He would fit in lovely, and he was working with coach David Zrilic for a couple of years." That is certainly worth pointing out that Joe Lolley has that connection with David Zrilic, who was an assistant coach at Sydney FC last year, so there is that connection there. Joe Lolley is not the only attacking player that Perth Glory are reportedly interested interested in this coming from Marco Monteverde. Perth Glory are interested in bringing Bruno Fornaroli back to Perth. Of course, he was there a few seasons ago. Fornaroli apparently still owns a house in Perth and plans to live there once his playing days are over. That would be an interesting one. Potentially, if that swap deal happens, maybe Taggart going over to Sydney FC and Joe Lolley coming in, they'll obviously need a striker. Maybe they could bring in Bruno Fornaroli, and who knows, maybe Perth Glory's attack for next season could be Bruno Fornaroli alongside Joe Lolley. Another piece of news from Football Fever AU, apparently Callum Timmins is returning to Glory. He obviously spent the last couple of years at Newcastle Jets, but it looks like he'll be on the way back to Perth. Heading to Newcastle Jets now, who have let a number of players go already. Dane Ingham, Ryan Scott, Scarcella, Vidic, Wellersol, Timmins, Dowse, Mombois and Bowling all leaving the club there. We did speak about Bruno Fornaroli potentially heading back to Perth Glory, but according to Marco Monteverde, Newcastle Jets as well as Central Coast Mariners are also interested in the 37-year-old striker. More pieces of news here in this update from James Gardner. Daniel Wilmering set to agree a contract extension. Noah James will apparently be given a shot establishing himself as the Jets' starting goalkeeper. And we spoke about Max Burgess earlier, but it looks like Newcastle Jets could be one of the sides interested in bringing in Burgess, according to Football Fever AU. 30 years of age now, Max Burgess. Newcastle Jets looking to bring him in. And finally with Newcastle Jets, this is a bit of a big one. Clayton Taylor, who's been one of their best players over the last couple of years since arriving from Sydney FC, still just 21 years of age. This is coming from James Gardner. Clayton Taylor has made a second request for a release from his final year of his contract. So he still has one season remaining on that contract. It says here that the Jets board are set to meet next week to discuss Taylor's latest request for an exit. Any deal would require some form of compensation. Taylor wants a release due to concerns over resourcing of the club's medical and high performance departments, which is a interesting one. Who knows, maybe he's speaking to a bigger issue there at Newcastle Jets. Couple departures at Adelaide United to report. Isaias and Yabi Lopez have departed, while Tunnicliffe, Carvalho and Elsie have also left the club. But in the last couple of weeks, we have heard this coming from Marco Monteverde that Craig Goodwin could be returning to Adelaide United. Not particularly surprising, seeming that Craig Goodwin has spent many seasons at Adelaide United over the years. He seems to return every couple of years, and he's 33 years of age now. I'm sure Adelaide United would love to welcome back Craig Goodwin. He has proved to be one of the top players in the A-League, when he is fit, when he's firing, when he's starting for the Reds. So I think this would be a great pickup for Adelaide and the A-League. Andrew Volman has indicated that Auckland FC have signed goalkeeper Scott Morris from the Stoke City, 24-year-old keeper. This one coming from Brisbane Roar now, and another big one. Jay O'Shea, one of the top midfielders in the competition. Brisbane Roar apparently looking to offload him. This is coming from Football Fever AU, saying here that Brisbane Roar are offering club captain Jay O'Shea to other clubs. This is a real shock for me. If I'm a Brisbane Roar fan, I'm pretty upset about this one. Brisbane Roar were obviously really, really poor this past season, but O'Shea was week in, week out, such a consistent performer. He always puts in a fantastic shift. Big surprise there. And again, I'm sure there'll be plenty of A-League clubs lining up for Jay O'Shea if this is indeed happening. And again, Joe Lolley's popping up here. Brisbane Roar are reportedly interested in the winger, according to Football Fever AU. Would be a great pickup for Brisbane Roar. Bruno Fornaroli, is he heading to Perth? Is he heading to Newcastle? Well, apparently Central Coast Mariners are one of the clubs interested in Bruno Fornaroli. I think it would be a good signing for Mariners as well to complement the attack. Obviously, Mariners struggled for goals last season. Another big piece of news here regarding the Mariners. Marco Monteverde has indicated the Central Coast Mariners are interested in former Real Madrid and Real Sociedad midfielder Asier Iaramendi. This would be a huge signing for Central Coast Mariners, a former La Liga midfielder. He did spend time at FC Dallas last season as well. It says here that the 35-year-old Spanish international wants to join the Mariners for a price that shouldn't break the bank. Iaramendi would be a fantastic signing for the Central Coast. We spoke about Clayton Taylor briefly. Macarthur SC, apparently one of the sides looking to bring in Clayton Taylor. If Taylor is able to secure a release from his contract, he could be headed to the Bulls. And Milan Strajovski has recently spoken to Paletti in regards to Marin Jakalic, who was fantastic this season for the Bulls. Strajovski said, "We are hoping to know within the next few days. We, Macarthur and Jakalic, are still negotiating. We are hoping that it is going to be a positive outcome." Apparently here, Jakalic was recently linked with a move to Bulgaria. Just a couple departures reported by Wellington Phoenix. Scott Wooden and Sam Sutton, defenders, have departed the club. There has been a lot of talk on social media over the last few weeks that those those players could be headed to Perth Glory. Western Sydney Wanderers, as we know, Nicholas Milanovic has departed the club. He was fantastic this season for Western Sydney Wanderers, and he is heading to Aberdeen in Scotland. Lawrence Thomas also re-signing for the next couple of seasons. Joe Lolley again popping up here. Apparently Western Sydney Wanderers interested in Joe Lolley, according to Marco Monteverde. That would be a big one. We've obviously seen a number of players go from Sydney FC to Western Sydney Wanderers. We think lately of, Callum Nieuwenhof, Milos Nikovic, of course, Joe Lolley. I mean, if he was to follow those guys from Sydney FC to West Sydney Wanderers, that would certainly be a dramatic move. As we know, Justin Vidic has departed Newcastle Jets, and according to Football Fever AU, the young striker could potentially be heading to Western Sydney Wanderers next season. Big news regarding Juan Mata. Marco Monteverde has suggested here that Juan Mata has been offered a new contract by Western Sydney Wanderers. Apparently, Mata remains undecided on whether to stay at Western Sydney Wanderers, considering the lack of game time under coach Alen Stajic, which is fair enough. I mean, he's barely got any minutes. He's coming off the bench here and there, and it's just turned out to be a bit of an odd signing, considering that they haven't found a place for Juan Mata in that starting lineup. He doesn't really seem to suit the system. You look, there's plenty of other sides in the A-League where I think Juan Mata could easily be starting week in, week out. We'll keep an eye on this one, whether Juan Mata's keen to stick around at Wanderers. Recent piece of news from Football Fever regarding Western United striker, though, Noah Botic here, who has been phenomenal this season, 23 years of age. He is reportedly on the verge of signing with FC St. Pauli in the Bundesliga. Of course, as we know, a couple of Socceroos already there in Jackson Irvine and Connor Metcalf. Really exciting signing for Noah Botic, a well-deserved move after a really, really great season. I'm sure a future Socceroo here, Noah Botic, hopefully in the near future here as well. But an exciting one for Noah Botic if this does get confirmed in the end. And if Botic does depart, they could be bringing in Sydney FC striker Jayden Kaczarski to replace him. According to Ben Smith, Western United are leading the race for Jayden Kaczarski. Kaczarski, of course, now a free agent after leaving Sydney. Some transfer talk surrounding some of our Socceroo stars. Cassini Yengi is set to leave Portsmouth. He is now a free agent after being released by his club. It'll be interesting to see where he does end up. I mean, we potentially, who knows, we could see him return to the A-League. I'm sure there's plenty of clubs that would love to pick up Cassini Yengi. He spent time at Adelaide United and Western Sydney Wanderers, so one to keep an eye on. Nectar Triantis obviously had a fantastic season for Hibs over in Scotland, and according to Hibs Central, they have made an offer to Sunderland for Nectar Triantis. Obviously, he was on loan for the past season, and another piece of news here coming out that FC Pauli are interested in signing Nectar Triantis. So, I mean, we could see a string of Aussies at the German club next season, so one to keep an eye on. Next up, Cameron Burgess, Socceroos defender, being chased by a couple Spanish clubs apparently, according to Marca here. Valencia and Mallorca are interested in Cameron Burgess. Burgess will be a free agent when his Ipswich Town contract expires at the end of this coming June. According to Josh Barry as well, Rangers also strongly interested in Cameron Burgess. Lewis Miller looks like he could be set to leave Hibs. According to Hibs Central, Lewis Miller could leave Hibernian this summer. Clubs are showing interest in Miller, a key player in the Socceroos at the moment. He's seemingly Socceroos' first choice right back going forward under Tony Popovic. So we'll see where Lewis Miller ends up. Hopefully an exciting move for him. And lastly, a bit of a transfer summary here from Ozfoot HQ regarding Alessandro Ciccardi, Australia's young centre-back. Juventus are reportedly closely following Ciccardi. Napoli very much like Ciccardi. So he's certainly getting interest from some big clubs in Italy. He's currently at Parma at the moment, Ciccardi, but this is exciting to see that one of, Socceroos, we've got a Socceroos player here with some top European clubs chasing him. If there was anything else that was missed, feel free to throw it in the comments section, and stay subscribed here to the channel for more Australian transfer talk with me, Lockie, here on Ozfoot Football. Thanks guys for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.